is the WrestleBread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee here, and this is episode 79 of the WrestleBread Podcast. So, you're going to hear a lot of background noise. You'll hear helicopters. You may hear some police sirens going off. If you haven't heard the news of what happened in Philadelphia, I don't know all the details, just to be quite honest, but there was an African-American guy who had a knife, and the police was called, and there were two officers who responded to the scene. It was said that he had a mental illness. A family member had called the police because they were very concerned about him. And he had a knife, and he was chasing the police down. The police was running around the car after him. I believe it was his mom that was trying to get him to drop the knife. And he was walking towards the cops, and the cops shot him. They fired at least 14 rounds at him, and he was shot and killed, pronounced dead. This happened about 24 hours ago, and there was protests, but now, for the second time in Philadelphia, within 5 months, we have looting again and a lot of violence. Not too far from me is a section of a lot of stores, about a mile away from me, and so they are looting over in that area, and there have been reports of gunfire, and so there are police helicopters flying around. There's probably news helicopters flying around, police sirens. I have an app on my phone that tells you, any crimes or anything that's going on in the area, and it's been like going off of mainly the craziness that's been going on. So we had a lot of wrestling this past weekend. We had Bound for Glory, we had Hell in a Cell, and then we had the Hell in a Cell fallout, and now the setup for Survivor Series. So starting off for Bound for Glory, I didn't get a chance to see the pre-show, so I didn't, and I don't know where I got my match card information, but there were some things that I got incorrect. First off, I didn't know there was a pre-show match. It was the Deaners versus the Rascals. Now, I would have picked the Rascals for this match because I've seen them wrestle before. I'm not entirely... I don't know the Deaners too well, so I really couldn't give an evaluation of them. So I can't really talk too much about this match because, like I said, I didn't see it. But the Deaners had defeated the Rascals for this tag team match. But going into the main card, it was a 6-way intergender scramble match for the Impact X Division Championship. We had Willie Mack, Chris Bay, Jordan Grace, TJP, Trey, and Rohit Raju. I had went with Chris Bay. I thought that the title would change hands, but it didn't. This was a good match. I had said in my prediction show that I wasn't too familiar with the champion, but I kind of like him as the heel that he was. There was a spot where he yelled out equality and he attacked Jordan Grace, which I kind of laughed at. And he is definitely a pretty good heel. Even I was watching a little bit of Impact that had aired tonight, and he was going against Willie Mack, and he was knocked out of the ring, and he acted like he was unconscious. He was acting like he was unconscious, and he was counted out, and you see him like go, whew, that was good. I don't know why heels haven't deliberately get themselves counted out like this. It was a very unique finish. Normally we see the person just walk away and then their opponent comes out and starts attacking them and bringing them back in the ring. But very rarely have I seen someone actually act like they were knocked out just so they can get counted out. So next up we have the Call Your Shot Battle Royale. And I didn't know that there were actually 20 people in this. I don't know why. I was reading, I don't know what I was reading, what match card, I don't know where I got my information from for this match, because I had thought it was only going to be a couple people. I did say it would either be Rhino or Heath that would win this match. And then there was a to be determined, and I thought it was going to be a person. Come to find out, it was like 15 other people. So to run down the list of who came out in what order, we had Rhino. We had Sean Daivari, who, now, like I said, I don't really watch Impact like that. So him coming back to Impact from his role in WWE was impressive. He looked really good too. We had Larry D, Crazy Steve, Ace Romano, Tennille Dashwood, who spent most of the match outside the ring, and she had her manager or whoever was with her go into the ring for her for a little bit. We had Havoc, Brian Myers, who was pretty dominant in this Battle Royale, I have to say. Swoggle, Tommy Dreamer, who paid tribute to Animal. He cut his hair and he had the Legion of Doom face paint, which I thought was really cool. Now, I said her name wrong. I thought her name was Alicia, but it's Alicia Edwards. Kiera Hogan, Taya Valkyrie, Fallah Bah. I hope I'm saying that right. I didn't catch the pronunciation of it. James Storm, who looked really good, very tanned, I have to say. And he looked really good in this. Adam Thornstole, Luster, The Legend, Heath, Sammy Callahan, and Hernandez. And Hernandez was coming out last as a stipulation for this match. This was an interesting battle royale, I have to say. Tommy Dreamer paying tribute to Road Warrior Animal was a nice touch. He wasn't in the ring for that long. I wish he was in the ring for a little bit longer, but he got eliminated. Like I said, James Storm was in pretty good shape. And I didn't get the list of who got eliminated by how, but however, Rhino won the match. And now Heath is part of Impact, and Rhino gets to keep his job. So next up, we got EC3 versus Moose for the TNA Championship. Now, this was a cinematic match that took place in this warehouse, dark warehouse type of setting. There were the followers of EC3 who were standing around the ring. And I was a little confused by the storyline behind this. So I thought that EC3 would be very dominant, and I thought that EC3 would win this match. Both men beat the hell out of each other. They were both bleeding and everything like that. There was a chair involved, and there was a spot where I guess the story behind this was Moose was starting to, lose his cool. And he started to punch EC3 repeatedly, saying, "Is this what you want? Is this what you want?" And EC3 goes, "Yes." And then the EC3 followers started to chant Moose. And then Moose looks back at EC3, and EC3 says, "Control your narrative." And Moose said, "Thank you," and then knocked out EC3, and he won the match. So I'm not quite sure if this was all done to kind of unleash a certain personality or something in Moose, and now Moose would kind of take on a slightly different persona. I'm not quite sure if that's where we're going, and I'm kind of confused now on what EC3 then is trying to do. I thought EC3 is trying to be more of a cult follower, something like that. I guess his thing is to kind of free other people, if that makes sense. So after that, we have Ken Shamrock versus Eddie Edwards. Before the pay-per-view started, during the pre-show, there was a little kind of a ceremony of Ken Shamrock being inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame. There was a lot of different people who congratulated Ken Shamrock, Mick Foley, Bret Hart. But the biggest name that actually did a speech and introduced Ken Shamrock was The Rock. Now, I did see a tweet of Ken Shamrock asking The Rock to induct him, and The Rock had said yes, but I wasn't quite sure if The Rock was just giving a slight word. Like, I didn't expect a whole speech for Ken Shamrock. I really didn't. And it's, I remembered the rivalry between Ken Shamrock and The Rock. I remembered there was a moment when Ken Shamrock was on his knees and The Rock had a chair in his hand, and The Rock swung the chair and hit Ken Shamrock square in the face. And this was, of course, before everything that happened. I'm sorry, I'm getting alerts for us to stay indoors now. And now there's a Wawa, another Wawa that's a little further away from me that has been set on fire. So I apologize. I'm going to be a little more quicker with this episode because there is a lot of things that are happening and I'm just ready to go upstairs because I record downstairs in my house, and so I'm going to try to go through these and go upstairs. So I apologize that this episode may not be as long as I normally have it, but as you probably continuously hear in the background, the helicopter's going on and I am getting alerts that there's a fire about a mile away from me, 2 fires, gunshots, and there's an alert now for people to stay in the house due to burglaries. So I'm gonna fly through this. So Ken Shamrock was inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame by The Rock, and their rivalry was, I really like the rivalry between The Rock and Ken Shamrock. So going into this match, Ken Shamrock had defeated Eddie Edwards, and I think that was the right call to make. Ken Shamrock was just inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he looked really good in this matchup, I have to say. And I know I keep saying it, but oh my gosh, Ken Shamrock at 50-something years old definitely still got it, and he was moving. The thing is, on top of that, he wasn't moving around the ring like he is tired or anything like that. He was looking like his usual self, I have to say. It was pretty good. So the matchup for the Impact World Tag Team Championship, the North versus the Good Brothers versus the Motor City Machine Guns versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. The North actually won this match, which I'm a little surprised about, but I feel like it's the right call because the North with their titles are pretty hilarious. Even without their titles, they're pretty hilarious. Funny story is, I actually follow Ethan Page, and I was following Ethan Page before I knew who he was. But Alex Shelley was taken out early in this match, so my thoughts of the Motor City Machine Guns winning this match went out the window, since Chris had to pretty much wrestle by himself. But the North, of course, took the match, so I'm not too surprised with this. So then we get to the Impact Knocks Out Championship. It was supposed to be Kylie Rae versus Deonna Purrazzo, but then we get Su Yung, who had come out to replace Kylie Rae, and there is really no explanation about this. I swore I saw Su Yung before, but I never actually really sat down and watched a match of hers. Her doing the mandible claw and everything. Bit surprised that they did this. I am very interested to hear what happened with Kylie Rae. I really hope everything is okay with her. I don't know if it's something mental or if it's something physical that happened to where as though that, she couldn't compete in this match, because I was kind of looking forward to this match. And then there was the announcement that the Knockouts Tag Team Championship will be returning in January 2021 at their next pay-per-view event. So, last match for Impact World Championship, Rich Swann versus Eric Young. And this, of course, was Rich Swann being the underdog and fighting his way to win the championship, which he definitely did. This was a pretty good match, I have to say. Rich Swann did a Phoenix Splash to win this match, and overall Impact was pretty good. So going into Hell in a Cell, I didn't really get to watch the pre-show, but it was R-Truth versus Drew Gulak for the 24/7 championship. This was only a 5-minute match, and I heard that Drew Gulak was he injured little Jimmy's finger, and there are some people, I'm sure, that feel like Drew Gulak is being buried, or whatever the term may be. I don't know really how to feel about this one. If this had happened before he teamed up with Daniel Bryan, I would be happy for Drew Gulak, because Drew Gulak wasn't really used on TV like that, and that he's getting sort of like some type of story, like a storyline or something like that, or something for him to do. I'd be very happy. But now that I've seen him team up with Daniel Bryan, I wish that he is still with Daniel Bryan, because that tag team had a lot of promise. And I wish that they were an actual tag team, and I wish they actually had went after the tag team championship. So going into the main card, we had Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, the Hell in a Cell I Quit match, which I was a little surprised that they started off with this match, but I am happy that they did start off with this match. This match went on for over 29 minutes, and the storytelling for this match was phenomenal. This was definitely my favorite match of the night. I feel as though that they really didn't need the Hell in a Cell. I feel as though they could have definitely made this into a street fight or something like that, because they did use some weapons, but the Hell in a Cell structure really didn't come into play for this matchup. I noticed, I'm sure my literature teacher would be very happy about this, but I saw that Roman Reigns was wearing the black pants and Jey Uso was wearing the white. I guess a bit of, foreshadowing of Jey Uso being like the innocent one or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to rush through this. Roman Reigns' glove reminded me of the Infinity Gauntlet, and there was a leather strap that was put into play. I mean, they were hitting the shit out of each other. Another thing, in reference to the word shit, WWE kept missing that censor button every time Jey Uso said the word shit. I like the fact that the annoying part about this match was the referee. The referee acting like the 13-year-old who was forced to break up with his girlfriend or something like that. Because he would sit there and he's not saying no. And he'll sit there, and then the ref will sit there and be like, if you say no, the match will be over. I can end it right now if you just quit. Dude, take it from the old school days where all the refs said, do you quit? Now, we don't really need the mic like we had back in the day, but all the refs need to say, do you quit? Do you give up? And then just say that's it. But Roman Reigns kept, taking it to Jey Uso. Jey Uso refusing to say I quit. There was a spot where Roman Reigns put Jey Uso up near the turnbuckle. He put the stairs up to Jey Uso's face, and he did his sit-out kick onto the apron. The ref was about to say the match is over because Jey Uso was knocked out. Roman Reigns said no, because Roman Reigns wants Jey Uso to say I quit. And then he started to continuously to attack Jey Uso. More of the officials and Adam Pearce comes out. Jamie Noble also comes out to stop Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns chased them out. He took steps. He took the steel steps, put it over Jey Uso, and started to talk to him about how, you know, he is the one at the head of the table. Jey Uso needs to quit, yada, yada, yada. And he was about to hit this Jey Uso with the stairs, unconscious Jey Uso, may I add, with the stairs, until Jimmy Uso comes in and says, look, this isn't you. You know, what's going on with you? This isn't right. And I'm sorry, Jimmy Uso wasn't really too good with the acting. I don't know if he was trying to look like he was about to cry, or if he was showing anger, or if he was trying to stop himself from laughing. I really couldn't tell. But Roman Reigns, oh my goodness. Roman Reigns started crying. He sat down. He said, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what's going on with me. And Jimmy had put out his hand and was like, look, you know, we family, this, that, and the third. And Roman Reigns, you know, they pretty much held hands, and Jimmy was like, I love you. And Roman Reigns was like, I love you too. And then pulled Jimmy Uso into a guillotine. And I was like, damn, yo, that is ruthless. That's some cold-blooded stuff. That was so ruthless. I couldn't believe, like, I was sitting there like, oh man. I was sitting there like, I hope Roman isn't breaking. And when he was holding hands, I was like, I did have the thought like, yo, you need to turn on him or something like that. But it was pretty good. And then Jimmy starts to grab at Jimmy Uso's hand. And Jay, seeing that Jimmy was in the guillotine, says, I quit. Now, my only issue with this match is that Jimmy Uso was in the guillotine. I felt as though that Jimmy Uso should have been put into a some type of leg submission. That way, it would be more pressure on Jimmy. It will be more pressure on Jay to say I quit. Because if you're in a guillotine, I mean, you just pass out. Whereas though, if Jimmy was put into some type of leg submission, even if it's on the wrong leg, they could sit there and sell that Roman Reigns is trying to break the other leg or try to damage the other leg, and it'll put more pressure on Jay to say I quit. Doing the guillotine and then Jay saying I quit right, like very quickly, that part really didn't sell for me. But had Jimmy be put into a leg submission or something like that, that would have made sense, you know. So Roman Reigns wins the match. He walks up the ramp, and there at the top of the ramp is Sika and Afa, the Wild Samoans. They were standing there, and they had a lei in their hand, which they put on Roman Reigns. And I was sitting there like, oh, I hope Roman Reigns stands there with them, which he did. He stood to the side, and he stood into the middle. Then he walked up a little bit and held up the title. And I was like, yes, there's the tribal chief. And so the Usos are sitting there, you know, looking on. And so now everyone is going to turn to SmackDown to see what's going to happen. So going into the next match, Elias versus Jeff Hardy. Elias wins by disqualification because Jeff Hardy hit Elias with a guitar. This match was only for about 7 minutes. This match really didn't do too much for me, and with the disqualification, I guess this feud is going to continue on. Maybe past Survivor Series, since Survivor Series is the whole brand versus brand thing. After that, we had The Miz versus Otis for the Money in the Bank contract match. John Morrison kept getting involved in this matchup, and I kept sitting there wondering why Tucker wasn't doing anything. I mean, Morrison was up on the apron. He was doing a lot. He took the Money in the Bank briefcase and everything, and then John Morrison got ejected from ringside. And so I was just sitting there wondering why Tucker didn't do anything. Of course, the reason why is because Tucker then turned heel. He hit Otis, I think, with the briefcase, if I'm not mistaken. The Miz looked shocked as all hell, and then the Miz covered Otis 1, 2, 3. The Miz now have the Money in the Bank contract. I'm just a little confused as to why Otis had the contract in the beginning if he was going to lose the contract anyway. I don't know if this was to kind of make sense for the Miz to kind of get involved in this, or if they really wanted Otis to have the briefcase and then change their mind last minute. I'm not 100% sure. But like I had said, I was going for the Miz to win because I felt as though the Miz would definitely do a lot more with the briefcase than Otis did. I don't know what's going to happen with Otis. And I come to realize, and I'm going to backtrack something I said. Now, I had said that Drew McIntyre was kind of suffering because of not having the fans. It's really Otis. I mean, Otis without the fans, without the pops, and, you know, especially when he starts shaking and stuff like that, it really puts him over. I mean, when he does the shaking and the caterpillar and everything like that, yeah, you have the commentators hyping him up, but without a crowd, it's just like, eh. So this matchup really didn't do too much for me. After that, we had Sasha Banks versus Bayley in the Hell in a Cell match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This match went for about 25 minutes. Now, this matchup used the Hell in a Cell a lot more than with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. And this was definitely violent. I give it to both women. This, if it wasn't for how good the storyline of Roman Reigns and Jey Uso was, I would say this was definitely the match of the night. It's definitely, these two Hell in a Cell matches are right there with each other. But I'm going to kind of put the Roman Reigns and Jey Uso a little bit above it because it had so much emotion in it. With Sasha Banks and Bayley, this had the violence of it. You can tell that both women really wanted to kick each other's ass, and the Hell in a Cell came to play. There was kendo sticks. There was steel chair. Sasha's Bank eyelash had came off. There was this smooth transition that Sasha Banks did. I think she was going for her Hurricanrana, and then she transitioned into the bank statement, which was very smooth. There was a kendo stick bridge that Sasha Banks had set up. She put one part of the kendo stick through the Hell in a Cell and the other part through the stairs, which of course she ended up going through. But this was a very good Hell in a Cell match, I have to say. The women definitely killed it. Next up, we have Bobby Lashley versus Slapjack for the United States Championship. This was a very short match. I don't know why this match was on there. I really don't. And I really don't get Retribution anymore. When Ali was named as the leader of Retribution, I felt as though that maybe things were going somewhere, but now Retribution is, I believe, 0-3 or 0-4 at this point, and there's nothing menacing about them. It really isn't. I could have sworn, even going into Raw, when it was the 4 members versus the Hurt Business, and it was an elimination match, and then Ali was left afterwards, I was sitting here wondering, like, where's the 20 other people that we have seen with Retribution? Where are they at? Why didn't they come out to save their leader? And then, of course, Mia Yim, or I think her name's Reckoning in Retribution. I don't know if she was attacked by fire ants, or she claimed that she was possessed, or she was having, like, I don't know. I didn't get it, and I was hoping that they would do more with Retribution, because I always talk crap about things, and I always want to be proven wrong, and I was really hoping I was proven wrong about Retribution, that it would actually do something, but as we have seen with this match, previous matches, all the matches, that they're pretty much dead in the water. So I don't know how they'll be able to turn things around. So after that, we had the main event, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre Hell in a Cell match for the WWE Championship. I mean, the Hell in a Cell match came to play. It wasn't as much emotions. It just felt like a regular match, truthfully. A regular Hell in a Cell match, I guess I should say. Because they definitely went up top of the up top of the cell, and then we had Drew McIntyre, who fell from halfway down the cell onto the the commentators table as well. And I was very shocked that Randy Orton won this match. I definitely would have thought it would have been Drew McIntyre that retained. But from what we see on Raw, it looks like the next matchup is either a rematch between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, or we're swinging with Bray Wyatt. This was, like I said, a typical Hell in a Cell match. Overall, the pay-per-view, the 3 Hell in a Cell matches were pretty good. It was just all this filler stuff. And like I said before, I hate it when WWE doesn't plan ahead. This is a freaking pay-per-view event, and this is on your own network. So you are making your own money. And I would think that they would put a little bit more care into a pay-per-view event or network special, whatever they like to call this, and at least set things up. Because now I get Survivor Series is one of the big 4. And so, of course, the next night, they're already setting up the match. They already have 5 matches announced for Survivor Series. And Survivor Series is going to be the celebration of The Undertaker, since it will be 30 years since his debut. There are going to be some interesting matchups. We're going to have Randy Orton versus the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. We're going to have Sasha Banks versus Asuka. We're going to have the New Day versus the Street Profits. Yeah, so the New Day was dressed up as the Street Profits, and Kofi Kingston was acting like Dawkins, and it was pretty funny. And then we have the Hurt Business show up, and then Asuka show up, and it turned into some type of craziness. Another thing that happened on Raw was the Moment of Bliss. Alexa Bliss has been definitely killing it in this Harley Quinn type role. She was wearing a Chucky type style outfit, and the way she was carrying on during a Moment of Bliss was pretty funny. Not pretty funny. It was pretty good. I say funny because my next point, when Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre were fighting each other, Alexa Bliss was sitting on the top turnbuckle, and she was sitting there laughing at what was going on. And then we had the Firefly Funhouse, which Alexa Bliss was really good in. Another thing that I'm a little confused about, though, is that we had The Fiend, who finally came out, and he was standing behind Randy Orton, and he didn't attack Randy Orton, and then Drew McIntyre attacked Randy Orton, and Drew McIntyre didn't really react to the fact that The Fiend was there. So I don't know if The Fiend was just there to kind of remind him, yeah, I'm going to get my revenge for, the House of Horror crap that happened. My thing is, I hope that The Fiend isn't going to get a title shot. And if he does, I don't want him to win the title. I feel as though The Fiend is someone who is all about chaos and getting his revenge on things that happen. And I feel like if he does go after Randy Orton, it should definitely result in some type of disqualification or something like that, where The Fiend goes off on Randy Orton, because this is the person who burnt down the house, and we had that stupid House of Horrors match. And so I would think that The Fiend will go crazy enough that he would get disqualified and wouldn't even care about it. And hey, put Randy Orton out for a week or 2 or something like that, and then have him go against whoever, and have Randy Orton go against whoever is next on the card. That's what I'm hoping for. Overall, Raw was pretty good. There was a lot of other things that happened, but that's all that I could think off the top of my head. And like I said, I'm kind of rushing through this, so I apologize if this isn't a full thing. I'm constantly hearing helicopters, and I am ready to go upstairs. But that's it for the Russell Brett podcast. Sorry that this wasn't as thorough as it normally is. Like I said, it's a lot of things that's happening on the outside. I'm constantly getting alerts of things that has happened, and it's not fun. It really isn't. But let me give some shout out. Shout out to Julianne Rob Bates from Wrestling Court Podcast and UnturnedMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show, Chris from We Talk Next podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show, Nando and Larry from Half K podcast, Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling, and my boys over at Powerbomb Jitsu. I didn't even talk about Halloween Havoc. I am so sorry. Let me pull up the match list real quick. So let me give a few predictions for Halloween Havoc. I completely forgot to talk about that. From what I see here, 4 matches here. Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae, spin the wheel, make a deal match for the NXT Women's Championship. Not quite sure what stipulation we would get, but I'm going to say, I don't know if we're going to have the Garganos win, because I feel like everything is stacked up against them. But I'm going to say that Io Shirai wins this match. And then we have Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano for the spin the wheel, make a deal match for the NXT North American Championship. I'm going to go with Johnny Gargano for this one. I think that one Gargano is going to win and the other one is going to lose. We also have Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley for the singles match. I'm going to go with Raquel. I want her to show dominance. And I think that with her defeating Rhea Ripley, it's going to continue that feud until, I guess, the next takeover. But I like Raquel. I do. And I think she has some promise. And so I want her to win here so that they can continue this feud and she will show dominance. Then we have Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes for the Haunted House of Terror match. I'm not quite sure what that would be, but I'm going to go with Dexter Lumis on this one. I think that Halloween Havoc is going to be good. NXT normally puts on good shows anyway. And then we also got more explanation from Pat McAfee for what happened with the Undisputed Era. Long story short, he hired Ridge Holland to take out Adam Cole and the rest of the Undisputed Era. But of course, he was injured, unfortunately. And so he went to Larkin and Birch, and at first they said no, but then they were defeated for the tag team title shot, and so they went back to Pat McAfee and said yes, and then they're the ones who took out the rest of the Undisputed Era. And so Pat McAfee did a video explaining everything, and he's definitely pretty good as a heel. And he called out the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, which I kind of laughed at. And he definitely talked about how good he is and stuff like that. He's a pretty good heel, I would have to say. I just and he impressed me in the ring. It's just that the fact that he was basically almost beat Adam Cole one-on-one without any interference is what kind of raise an eyebrow at. But overall, I think Halloween Havoc will be pretty good. Hopefully things won't get too crazy. I still plan to put out an episode later on this week doing a recap of Halloween Havoc, but also going over, giving a review of different matches from Halloween Havoc back in the WCW days. And for everyone out there, stay safe. Prayers go out to everyone involved with what's going on here. And you probably can hear another helicopter flying around. And I am going to keep everyone in my prayers. And yeah, until next time, guys, peace.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Check us out at WrestleBread.com and subscribe to WrestleBread on YouTube for more breaking news and JD's opinions.